Imagine if the eyes were the window to your business's soul. Well, today we're going to talk about that because now ChatGPT can see, and it's got new visual capabilities that could revolutionize everything.
How do you grow like a VC-backed company without taking on investors? Do you want to create a lifestyle business, a performance business, or an empire? How do you scale to an exit without losing your freedom? Those are the questions, and this show is the answer.
Today's episode is brought to you by Superhuman Revenue, which is a newsletter that I have that basically breaks down use cases, templates, and workflows on a weekly basis and shares the best of the best with you. So you can check it out on my website, ryansdaily.io. It's also on my LinkedIn profile. Be free to check it out and look forward to seeing you in there. All right. So today we are going to transition forward, and I was planning on going straight sales content with AI over the next, four weeks, I should say, like a 4-week span. I wanted to make sure I hit on everything. There's a lot of work. I launched that Sales AI Accelerator last week, which was fantastic. Was blown away by the feedback I've gotten on people that are using it, but at the same time, just what I discovered while I was creating it. And then lo and behold, ChatGPT has vision, basically, which enables you to use multimodal, which is voice, picture, and text. And so I wanted to just include that in today's episode because it's so freaking timely. And there's also some amazing use cases that I've started to see already. And I'm going to break those down for you today. So kind of think of it as like, it's like the early days of the internet. Remember when businesses questioned whether they needed a website for a digital presence? And then there were some that went forward, and then there was others that were left behind in the shadows. And so I think today is going to be a very, very similar era with what's happening specifically with ChatGPT vision. And so if you don't leverage that, it's going to be like what I just mentioned right there. It's going to be, you're going to miss the opportunity. Okay. And so here's where the leap is. And I like to kind of put this in perspective. And I think this is a great analogy, is like, remember the first time you used like binoculars or a telescope, and then once you saw what else was out there, you were awestruck, whether it be the sheer quantity and size and brightness of different stars in terms of the telescope, or it's by seeing something that was hundreds of yards away, crystal clear. And so what's going to happen now is just by sharing a picture, you're going to be able to do that and leverage AI and apply it. So another example would be is like an iceberg, where the majority of the bulk of the iceberg is hidden beneath water. And I believe that the same thing is going to happen in business as well. If you look at just how we as humans learn and understand and identify, I think it was like we take in like 1,500 times or 15,000 times faster a picture than words. And so I think there's going to be insane leaps that AI is going to do in the same way. And I'm going to break down some actual use cases for you. And the reason why I want to do this is so that you have an understanding of what's possible, and then you can experiment and try to see what happens when you leverage this for yourself. Okay. And so I'm going to go deeper and deeper on this, and I'm going to even do a walkthrough, I'm sure, on this. I'm about to head out of town as I'm recording this for the Pavilion Go-to-Market event, which is with, 700-800 revenue leaders, CEOs, and CROs. And so I'm going there. Wanted to record this before. I'm sure I'll have some takeaways from the event. AI is on there. I'm having an AI meetup. I think there's close to like 18 to 20 people that are attending. And then there's just a lot of other really exciting things that are happening while we're there, people I'm meeting with. And so many more things are exciting that are about to come out that I can't even talk about yet. But let's get back to kind of what we were talking about before. So let's get into vision and what some of the use cases are. So I'm going to break this down in a couple of different ways. Like, all these are not going to be exactly sales use cases, but the idea is to get your brain rolling and start trying these out and see what happens. Okay. And so an example, one of the first ones is this is actually on Twitter, which was really cool. Effectively, there is a folk named McKay Wrigley. And so what McKay did is he basically turned a drawing into software. So he took a picture of the drawing, and then he asked ChatGPT to code it, and then it created it into a visual rendering of, like, basically put it in code and then created like a literal actual, software screenshot just from a picture. Okay. So that was one. Another thing that you could do is like you could code landing pages as well. So you could upload a screenshot of it and ask it like a question of what exactly it is, how to improve it, and then give you ideas on how to improve it, and then actually provide code to improve it. Okay, so that's on the technical side. So those are two really quick examples where you take a picture, you ask it a question, and then it provides details or insights. And I've been testing this, and I tested it on multiple things. I actually tested it with a football formation. So I help coach football, and I'm like, hey, what's the exact defensive formation that this team is running in this screenshot in this picture? And how would you combat that? And it gave some good ideas. I didn't even get any context, right? The other thing that I leveraged this with that I was really excited to share with you today is there was like a screenshot, almost like a cheat sheet view of the copywriting frameworks. Actually, Chase Diamond put it on there. And so I'm like, you know what, this is pretty useful. I'm going to take this. So I took a screenshot with my phone, leverage that picture, and basically it breaks out, I think, 6 or 7 different copywriting frameworks. And if you look at why this is relative for business, is like copywriting is highly, highly effective in terms of invoking emotion from the words and language that you create. So what I did is I took a screenshot of that. Now, granted, I also have basically custom instructions set on my ChatGPT dialogue as we go through it. So I have that custom dialogue set, right? So it has information about my audience, who I am, all that kind of who I am, my history, my audience, and what they're doing. Okay. So basically I looked at that copywriting framework and I asked it, I said, hey, I want you to identify and write text out of these different copywriting frameworks, create an ultimate framework. And then at the same time, I want you to effectively tell me the best time to use each one of these. Like, what are the best use cases for that? Right. And this actually like blew me away. And this wasn't something I spent a lot of time on. This was something that I tried. So it had like IDA, attention, interest, desire, and action, PAS, which is problem, agitate, solution, 4Cs, FAB, which is features, advantage, benefits, SLAP, stop, look, act, purchase. Okay. So, and then the other one was ACC, awareness, comprehension, and conversion. So I asked that, I like, my specific language is I'm like, visually identify where I should use each framework. Okay. So I'm like, what are the use cases? So for IDA, it's like introducing new AI tools or techniques to your sales audience. Problem, agitate, solution is like addressing common challenges faced by, the sales community and offering AI solutions. Like the 4Cs, it says using testimonials or case studies. FAB, detailing a specific tool, platform, or service I recommend. ACC was like educating your audience on AI and transitioning from novice to decision makers. And then it gave an exact example of each one. Okay. Like with quotes. So like, that's what kind of blew me away. When I did this is like, I gave it very simple instructions. I had custom instructions in there, but I said, hey, look at this picture and give me outputs from it. Okay. So you could use this with understanding like the copy, potentially the personality of a LinkedIn profile if you take a picture of it. You could look at an ad. You could look at understanding effectively like a website. You could do a screen grab. I mean, you could take like a carousel and leverage, a screenshot from there if you're looking on social. And so like the thing that blew me away though was how fast it happened. Okay. So I've given you a couple examples. I've given like a screenshot in a code to create software. I've given you just a picture with words, and then it provided actual use cases and examples. All right. Now another one, and this was really interesting. I heard this talking about on another podcast I was listening to, and effectively one of the hosts took a picture, and in the background of that picture was a skyline, and he asked like, "Hey, of this skyline, what city is this in based on this picture, and what part of the country was I in, right? Where was I traveling from?" So it showed that, and basically it gave that picture to ChatGPT and asked that question. And it identified like, hey, obviously there's a limited skyline of what I could see, but based on the information that I have, one of the things that's very crystal clear is that basically there are a modern, skyline structure. There's this type of horizon in the background, and I would estimate that you are in, the middle of the country, probably in Colorado or Arizona, maybe Denver or Scottsdale, right? And the person was actually in Denver. That was where the picture was taken from. So, those are 3 use cases, basically picture in a code, copy into actual tangible use cases with examples, and then recognition, location recognition. And the fact that it just kind of went through that logic is really interesting. And like I said, this is version 1. This is what we have access to, the public version of this. Maybe it's not version 1, but it's the first version released to the public. So I imagine when you go behind closed doors, there's way, way, way deeper levels of this. And at the same time, like I said, this hasn't been iterated or built from the ground up. Gemini is supposed to come out from Google later this year in the fall. And then at the same time, this just got released about a week and a half ago. On top of it too, if you look at, so let's break this down. If you look at the silos in terms of how this is structured, Microsoft has a substantial investment in OpenAI, I think 3 to 4 billion. Amazon just made a $4 billion investment into Claude. And then last but not least, we got Facebook's going crazy, creating all these different chatbots in open source language. There's rumor that Apple's doing something as well. And so and then Google, like I said, has Gemini, which is coming out, which is from the ground up multimodal. So wanted to share this with you because what's going to happen next year is this is going to continue to be refined. These general source capabilities don't come with an instruction manual. So if you have domain expertise and you can apply it, crazy things are going to happen for you. And so I believe that there's going to be a whole revolution of new people based on their domain expertise that know how to leverage this really, really well, specifically in business is what I'm identifying, but across every single part of life. And so I'm sharing this with you today because for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's freaking amazing that this is out there and this is possible. Number 2 is I'm finding this out in real time and sharing this with you. I know most folks, specifically in the CEO, sales leader, revenue leader community, don't have a lot of time to experiment. Well, here's my advice: make time now. Use it, try it in very simple examples, and new ideas will come to you. And it's going to be life changing in terms of the output and that you create. You'll be amazed like a little kid, and at the same time, it'll start to give you ideas. And what I've seen is many, many people that are in those leadership positions, specifically that aren't CEOs, want an opportunity to do something else or have options outside of constantly working for someone else. So wanted to share this with you today. So here's the action item. Just summarize it. Try it for a half hour. Take pictures, ask it questions, whether they be business, whether it just be any kind of use case that you could think of for what you do on a day-to-day basis that involves any kind of visual, and then share them with me. I would love for you to share them with me. I'll bring it up on the show and identify it because I think this is amazing. I'll bring it up in my content that I create, but absolutely love this opportunity. Really excited, not just with the capability of what's possible, but excited for you too, because this is going to open doors that weren't openable before, or weren't able to be opened, I should say is probably better, or at the same time, you didn't even know existed. So we're going to wrap that up today, but really appreciate you being on the show. By the way, I really appreciate all the feedback. I was guesting on John Barrow's show, Make It Happen Mondays, and the Sales Leadership Podcast with Rob Jepson. Was blown away by the feedback I got because I'm starting to be a lot more bold and share a lot more what I think. And I think this is an amazing opportunity for all of us. And so I wanted to share with you today. All right. Once again, the biggest thing that you could do to help me out with this is just share this. Podcasts do not grow unless word of mouth is probably the biggest reason or way that they can grow. You could leave a review if that's cool, or just share it with someone that you think would find this helpful. But I appreciate you listening to me either way, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thank you for checking out the Scale Up Show. My mission in life is to help founders and revenue leaders avoid all the pain and suffering in revenue and growth so they can flip it and create a life of their own design. So if you enjoyed this show, please like, review, share it on social, and more importantly, just share it with a friend. Share it with someone that you think could learn and benefit from what you heard on today. But the more we get the message out, the more people we could help, the bigger the impact we make, and the bigger the community gets, which helps everybody. So once again, thank you for being a loyal listener. I appreciate you and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.